Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our town hall here on January the 25th. This evening, we're going to go over several things. Some are going to be on the list, and probably some will not. But we'll start with an update with the Water Authority, which is pretty straightforward and short at this point, is that in the process of doing all this, we have taken the idea of a water authority, which would be a project that would set a precedence. And we've asked the Attorney General to give his comments on it because he's the guy who can pull the plug or say yes. And we have not heard back from him yet, but that's the reason for going to him, is because this process would actually be a precedent for Tennessee law, and that's where we want to go. Okay. I think I need to be flipping things here. There we go. So, the thing I want to talk about tonight is something that I talked about a year ago, and that is that we are in desperate need of a way of funding reserves outside of your pocket. And as we come into this process, last time we talked about this, we wanted to do a flat fee of $2,500 every time somebody sold a house. The buyer would be responsible to pay this fee. And there was lots of comments about under certain circumstances that could be a pretty big price. If you're buying a lot for $6,000, having to pay $2,500 as a fee could be a little bit odorous in that particular process. So we went back and took the bill apart, and a couple things for those who weren't here. This is a bill that we are taking to the legislation that does not require the homeowner's vote. It does require that the homeowners want it. And that is, we need another way. So the changes that we made is instead of being a flat fee, it will be 0.5% of the sale price, or to use the legal terms, 0.5% of the sales price. And that would be on any time a deed changes hands, except for these conditions. And these conditions, by the way, are set by the state. It's not just us. I mean, I agree with them 100%, but the state set these. And that is, the exceptions are, if you inherit a house, you don't have to pay that fee. If you you put your house into a trust, you as a parent put it into a trust for all your children, there is no fee involved there as well. And if a spouse dies and the property needs to be put in the other spouse's name, there is no fee in that particular instance either. So the other thing that we took out of this is that this is in perpetuity, meaning once it's put in place by legislation, it can't be revoked unless you go back to legislation to do that, which means we took out the board's ability to shut it off. And there's several reasons for doing that. Right now, I believe the board we have is very good, understands the process, theoretically is even behind this process, but that doesn't mean it'll always be that way. And the community is going to run out of a lot of the funds that it currently takes in all the time in a very short period of time. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Currently, we're looking at all this funds. Every single penny of this fund would go into reserves. Now, to put this in perspective, if you look at all the homes that were sold in 2023 and applied this fee to it, currently our reserves would have increased by $1.2 million without you doing a thing. And in the future, we have lots, the community has multiple ways or streams of revenue coming in to fund it. And that's a good thing. We have the assessments, we have fees for golf, we have fees for the docks, we have fees for the rec center, and all these things go in to improve those amenities. And also we have fees that come in through public works, the installation of tanks or new homes and the connections and all that. There's a fee that goes along with that goes into the coffers as well. The problem with that is is that's going to go away. And a very conservative estimate is in 2028 will be built out. And so if that's the case, you no longer have that fee, and that's a significant dollar that we make from new homes. And so we need something else, another stream. And this stream is a way of doing this moving forward that will allow us to fund reserves and generate funds in a new stream of revenue. I don't know any other way to present that other than that's its whole entire purpose, is to fund reserves. It will not go into operations. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It goes directly into reserves and will be used for reserve funding. I think that is all that I was going to cover on that. Right now, if you want to talk about some other things, right now we are trying to generate $8 to $10 million a year to go into our reserves. And that's coming directly from assessments, from all these other fees that we're collecting, and funding that. Well, when these start to dwindle away, the reserve needs are not going away. And so we have to have this other stream of revenue. And I think that's one of the things that will be very important at that time. All right, let's talk trash. All right, trash is an interesting process. Let me start with some statements that have been made that I want to clear up, well, if they can be cleared up. Our documents implies, they do not explicitly say, but they do imply that you can only have one service for trash in the community at any one time. And when I say they imply, they said basically the POA is required to get trash pickup for the community. So that limits us in our options. I know today that there are many people within the community, both Kahidi and the main community, that take their own trash out, and they don't want anybody to pick up their trash. They don't want to fool with it. They don't want to pay for it. They like doing it the way they're doing it. I can't argue with that point. There's a group of us like myself that are quite thrilled to push their can out to the end of the road and have somebody pick it up. There's other people who don't want to fool with any of it. They don't like it. They just don't want to do it. They have somebody else come by in their truck and pick up their trash. I don't know that there's a magic answer for all of this, so we really only have two choices. Either clean up our contract or renew our contract, is a more accurate statement, with Republic, which will probably be for the same price, and people can join up as they choose to, and it will be between them and Republic to join and to be managed. POA will do nothing more than just negotiate the process as best they can. The second one is, and this is the one that I have one group that says, yes, it's about time, and I have another group that says, have you lost your mind? And that is that the POA go out and get a contract, not you as a homeowner, the POA, and get the best deal we can get. What does that mean? Right now, in going out and getting bids, all of you are paying like $25 a month for Republic. If I go out for bid and everybody in the community is participating in this, it would be $17. I don't know if that's enough money to make it worth your while to consider. But there's a lot of people who say, well, I only live here 6 months out of the year. I don't want to have to pay for trash when I'm not here. The problem with that one is you pay for water when you're not here. You have a minimum fee that you have to pay for water even when you're not here to keep your water on. It's the same principle. But I don't really have a dog in this hunt, meaning I don't really want to force anything on you. If you're happy with the way it is, I'm good with that. I don't want to make it more. I have a lot more important things in the community than arguing with you over your trash cans. But I really would like to hear from you in some way or another to try and get a consensus of what we want to do. Because I know, and you know as well as I do, that I can't please everyone. Somebody somewhere is not going to like the way it's being done. But if I can get the group in a concise way to say, this is what we think is best for the community, then I'll move ahead on that. And I have no problem doing that. I would like to do that, actually, and get it cleared up. Our contract ends with Republic in April. We have the opportunity to extend that to probably June without any changes. But at that point, we will have to make a decision, and that's why I'm bringing this up now. And if we need to make the decisions, we have the time, and I've already sent out bids just to see what the dollar figures would be, and that's where I'm coming up with these numbers. It's not a guess. Once we do that, then if whatever information you give me or whatever way the community seems to want to go, that's the way we'll go. As I said, I don't really have a burning desire. I want to do what's best for the community. And we have enough rules and regulations to keep you busy for a while. I don't need to throw something else in there just for giggles. So if you have an opinion on this, please feel forward to send in a help spot or send it to my own email address, send it to Beth's address. Somebody, let us know how you feel about this so that we can make some decisions in that direction. And like I said, I know that I'm not going to please everybody, but I got to get something done on having our trash continue to be picked up in a timely manner. Some of you had questions about this last weather. When they have weather, it's in their contract that they get dispensation before they have to come back out and pick up trash. And I can't speak for everyone, but my trash got picked up on Wednesday, so I'm assuming that everybody else's trash sooner or later got picked up this week. That may be a false assumption, but I'm assuming that because they were out. Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about is not on the screen up there. And it's people have sent me emails, and some of them have been, well, we did a great job, or some of you have said, what were you doing? None of this got done. We were locked in our houses forever. Bottom line is that we want to take this last snow event and evaluate it. What I mean by that is to say, what did we do right? What came off and really worked? What did we do wrong? What did we miss? Talk about how we're plowing the roads. Keep in mind, the men we have working for us were raised here. They plow snow once a year. So they're not your skilled professional snow plowers who know and have all the techniques down cold. But we can learn, and we can learn from our mistakes and what we can do and what we can do better. In this last case, the weather didn't help us very much because it snowed, and then it stopped, and then it snowed again. So that presented some challenges for everyone. And so I know that some areas did not get plowed appropriately, or if they did get plowed, that was basically a one-lane road for you. And so I understand all those were of great consternation. Now, I do need to remind you that your driveways, we can't do that. We can't go up and plow your driveways for you. I'm just throwing it out there because we got lots of calls about when we were going to come and plow somebody's driveway. That one I can't fix. But I just wanted you to know we actually are hearing the emails that we've gotten about things that didn't go right and things that did go right. And we're trying to put those together and come up with a better way of doing it the next time we get snow, hopefully a year from now. All right, that's all I got directly. What you got? Come on up. We got a microphone. No, the 17 was not Republic. I apologize, I should have said that. That's a different company.
So we have a group here. Can we take a straw poll on the $17 trash just to see how many hands go up here today?
So we can do that. Raise your hand if you're good with $17 and being made to do it. Well, that's my point. I'm just asking for a straw poll. How many of you don't want me to fool with the trash at all? Okay, I don't think you got the numbers there, guys, but anyway, go ahead.
So I have a couple of questions, actually 3 or 4. I'll keep them quick, and you can answer after I'm done asking. The first question is about the first thing you had up there about the assessment that will go from the sale of a home to the funds. What is going to be put on paper that will assure all of us that that money will be put into a lockbox and not used for anything other than its intended purpose?
Well, the reality of it is it will be reported on every month. And it will be reported on how many houses were sold and how much money was put into the reserves from that process. It will be another line item in the budget, so you'll be able to track that every month.
Well, aside from, it's nice that it's able to be tracked. but what mechanisms are going to be put in place to prevent anybody from saying, we need to get money for this. This burnt down, we need to rebuild it, and we're going to take it from there. And I'm using this as an extreme.
The same rules that says I can't do that with anything else. I can't take reserves and go spend it any way I want to. In fact, I can't spend anything out of reserves without a board approval.
Okay, so next thing I have is about the Blue Book. I recently put in one of those minor permits to get a whole home generator installed, and I was told I had to put some ground cover to cover the whole home generator from the view of the street. And I looked through the Blue Book, it's not in there anywhere. And I was told, well, we can't put everything in the Blue Book. Okay, well then what's the point of the Blue Book?
I think what they're talking about is that in general, if you have any kind of object, for instance, I have a gas tank, propane tank on the side of my house. I had to put up a barrier around that.
Right.
Now, there's nothing that says that I have to do that, but
Okay,
they request that we do that.
So then why aren't we having to put any covering on air conditioning units?
I don't
It's
have an
bigger
answer
than my
for that.
whole home generator and closer to the street than the whole home generator.
Did you take that to the ACC?
I did.
And what was their answer?
They said they didn't know, they'd discuss it. So I just wanted to bring it up here to make sure that this goes full circle with the board, because I don't see the point in putting this stuff to cover up a generator, not to mention the fact that the inherent dangers of stuff getting sucked into it or blocking it off from being maintained properly. So just something I'm working with right now.
No, got it.
Oh shoot, sorry, this locked up. The next thing is, as far as this thing with the trash removal, my personal experience with this, and I don't really necessarily blame Republic, things happen, but it was pretty bad for me. When I first moved down here, I was still working up in Maryland 3 weeks out of the month. So I cannot tell you how many times on a Friday they didn't show up and they'd say, oh, we'll be there Monday. And Monday, I'm up in Maryland working, so I got garbage in my house for a month. So I found out about the Lenore City Convenience Center and started taking it there and canceled my pickup with Republic, and it's been working great for me. I understand not everybody wants to do that, but I am adamantly opposed to any entity forcing me to spend my money on something that I don't want to. It kind of gives me that icky feeling like the federal government does when they tell me I got to buy something I don't want. So I just hope that people will take that into consideration before we jump into something we can't get out of, at least for a while. That's all.
I understand. I appreciate your point. Yes, sir.
My question has to do with the de-transfer fees.
Yes.
My understanding is the legislation has to be in by January 31st, which is 6 days from now. So my question is, has the language been finalized? And if it hasn't, when can we see the actual written language for the bill?
The document will be online this afternoon, and you should be able to read that tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
You bet. Oh, and by the way, we're also putting in, there's a reference in there, and I did this deliberately so that people would understand. There's a reference in the document to another statute. I've also included that statute so that you'll understand what that's referencing.
Are you referring to 1116, the last one from last year? Is that what you're...
No, well, it won't be called that. What we're putting up is the actual language. It won't be the document number that the legislation gives it. But what I'm talking about is there's a statute that's in the beginning of the document. It cites a statute 667- something, and that statute is what defines who cannot be charged this. I went over that about the fact if it's a trust or if it's an inheritance or if it's a name change, that can't apply. That's where that's coming from, and that's the statute that's
I'm sorry, maybe I didn't understand, but I was asking, when can we see the actual wording of the bill that's being submitted, has been submitted, I assume, to Lowell Russell?
Yes, it has not. That's what I said. It will be online tomorrow
Okay.
for you to see.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah,
I'm not,
got it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Good afternoon. I would like to talk about the proposed mandatory trash pickup service. First off, I appreciate it and agree with you, Chet, as far as trying to get the best price for the trash pickup service for the community. However, that should be the best price you can get for the people that want to subscribe for that service. I personally do not think anyone in the community that does not want to subscribe to the trash service should be required to subsidize the others that want to subscribe. I'm on a fixed income and do watch how I spend my money. At the present time, I spend $3.27.5 per month to dispose of not only all of my trash, but also all of my recyclable plastics, paper, cardboard, metal, electronics, and also glass, believe it or not. That $3.27.5 is $13.72.5 per month more, or $164.70 more per year than I need to spend. Do you realize how many more groceries I can buy with that amount of extra money? Any unincorporated community that I know of, the trash pickup is up to each homeowner to subscribe to whichever service serves their area. Since there were multiple services, there was competition, and since there was competition, the prices were competitive and therefore low. Please do not mandate the trash pickup and let us keep our freedom of choice.
No problem with that at all. None at all. Appreciate your time.
Would you like me to send this to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On the transfer fee that is proposed,
Yes, sir.
you have made a point that it will be in perpetuity and cannot be changed or revoked. My question is there any mechanism to change the initial rate of 0.5%?
Currently, that is not in the legislation to change.
Cannot be changed, ever.
Yeah, no, that's the point. And that was the other thing, and I apologize that I didn't mention this earlier. And the other bill that we originally said, it started out at $2,500, and the board would have the ability to raise that if they chose to every year. That's not the case with this. It's 0.5%, and it stays that way forever.
So effectively, it's tagged to inflation.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And the good part about that is if house prices go up, yeah, you make more money going into the reserve funds. If house goes down, you make less money going to the reserves. It's driven by the cost of the homes, not by a dictate of one way or the other. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Chet, first a shout out, because coming from Chicago, I did not have high expectations of the snow removal, since we don't have the infrastructure to do that, and I thought they did a fine job. So,
Thank you.
hats off to them. My question is, and if this has been listed somewhere else and I missed it, I'm sorry, but the letter that we got with the rise of 52% for our water purchase,
Yes.
I would like to know where we purchase our water from,
Sure.
and would it be of any assistance if we're writing our representatives? Because a 52% increase in water seems really unrealistic to me.
First, may I say in all sincerity, no kidding. It is bad. However, what happened, well, let's start with your first part of your question. Loudoun County is who we buy our water from.
Which department?
LUB? LUB?
Is it the utility board?
Yeah, LUB is who we buy it from. And then in Tanassi, we buy it from TAS, which is the equivalent of LUB in Monroe County. And then they did a water study. And what that implies and requires is they go out and look, what is the cost that it's costing them to build new facilities, to deliver that water to us, to do all these things that they're doing for infrastructure. And they came back with that report. And they then went to all their wholesale dealers, which we would be, and said, this is going to be your cost. And then they went to all the homeowners and said, this is going to be your cost. So in the scheme of things, which probably means nothing to you, we actually came out better than, say, Watts Bar. Ours went from $2.30 to $3.50. Watts Bar went from $4 to $18 per 1,000 gallons. So, and this water study, to get on to what you were really asking, the water study is done and then reported to TDEC, which is the governing body over water and sewer within the state of Tennessee. And they come back to them and say, no, you can't do this, or yes, you can. And based on the water study, TDEC said, yeah, you have to do this. And so that was why we received that bill.
And so this was across the whole county, not just Tellico Village, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And to put a cap on how much they can increase for our water charges, who who needs to hear our voices on that? Is it our local representatives? Is it the county?
I'm assuming it's our local representative. Henry, you got any comment on that, brother?
We don't do anything with LUV. That's their board, which is part of Loudon City. So that's how that way is.
Couldn't really hear him.
Yeah, we don't have any way of controlling that, and TDEC is the state entity that approves or disapproves their charges. They have to report to them every year.
TDEC?
Department of,
only oversees the rate.
yeah, they only,
Board sets the rates.
The county board?
No,
LUB board.
LUB board, yeah.
Okay, so so our representatives would be the right people to send letters
Yes,
to?
Lowell Russell is your local representative for the state. And if you're talking about here, I don't know, do we have a new director of LUB yet? Got it. Okay. So,
couldn't
local
hear.
representative Lowell Russell is the person who is at the state level that you can contact and discuss this. And the representative here would be the board for LUB. They have a manager that they're currently hiring for LUB, and he would be the next person, or she would be the next person to talk to.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. I know that wasn't the answer you wanted, and it's not the answer I want. It's just the one I got to live with. Yes, sir.
Originally on the Water District, you had a timeline of January 15th for budgetary numbers. I understand the decision for the Water District has been delayed, but what is the timeline for the preliminary budgetary numbers with or without the Water District within the POA?
I'm sorry I couldn't understand all that. I apologize. I don't know if I'm just standing in the wrong place or what. Go ahead.
Okay. Originally, you had a January 15th timeline date for the budgetary numbers to go out to the members of the POA. The Water District decision has been delayed. So what is the new timeline for the preliminary numbers for the budgetary numbers? Because that is the base of, is it a good idea or a bad idea, those numbers.
So, from my perspective, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be your perspective, if the Attorney General says he will not allow this to happen, all of that's a waste of yours and my time. That's why we're put it on hold. Until he gives us an answer, it's a waste of everybody's time. Because if we go through all this trouble and he kills it up there, we've wasted a lot of time. And so until he comes back and says, yes, I'm willing to agree to a precedent, then that's fine. We can move ahead. The community will get all that. To your question, if that were the case, then we would be putting everything in place to say, end of April, beginning of May, have that information out to the community, still looking for more signatures. By late August, have it done and have it up to the folks in the legislation. And then January 1st, they would meet on that and give us a decision.
Okay. So, and I'm going back to the meeting a month ago.
Yep.
The Attorney General was not an obstacle.
He was not.
What changed specifically?
Well, let me rephrase
because
that.
I've not
If
read a
you're-
communication on that, but I've not read all communications, so it's
Sure.
a question.
So, in that topic, you'll remember that I said one of the things that we do not know is what the legislative attorneys will say. That was one of the topics that I brought up. After that meeting, I got some better information from a friend of mine named Henry Cullen that said you need to go to the Attorney General because he's the boss, and he's the only one that can agree to changing and setting a precedent. And so that's what we did. And he's correct.
What's the precedent being set?
The precedent is that we are a private community becoming a municipality. That's the precedent. Okay. Other people who've done water authorities were already I guess you would call it an incorporated community, a town, a county, that kind of thing. We are not, and that would be the precedent. And the rules specifically say that that is not for a private community.
Okay, so our research didn't show that up front, I
The
assume.
research showed that. I went to a legislator. The legislator said, I don't know that that's a big deal. I went to our attorney, and he said, well, yes, that is what it says, but they've been telling us that they think that can be navigated. So I decided that that's great information, guys, but if I know the guy who has to say yes or no, that's who I'm going to ask.
Okay, I'm going to change subjects. I believe the bylaws at one point, don't know if it's current or not, require 20% of the water bills to go to a reserve fund that is reserved for the sewer system. Pardon? Not true? Okay.
Okay, guys,
Yeah,
whoever's
say
going to
aye.
answer that question needs to stand up and come so everybody can hear it.
Because I'm confused, that's why I'm asking.
I'm Judy.
I'm Dave.
Judy Bedford.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm the CFO. Go this. Oh, you want me to turn around?
Yeah, because other people online.
Okay. So it's 20% of your sewer bill goes into an unearned revenue account, and that is only for repairs that are necessary on your personal property. If you have a sewer problem on your property,
So the pump that was replaced on my house was part of
yeah,
that reserve
would be,
fund?
yes. At that point, the
correct.
revenue is recognized for the exact amount of the cost, so it's a wash. You have warranty revenue and warranty expense.
Okay.
And but that doesn't cover infrastructure repairs for the community.
Okay, the bylaws that were posted on Nextdoor, and I realize Nextdoor is the last place to get accurate
Official
information.
source.
The line that was published didn't read that way. That's why I'm
Go ahead,
confused.
sorry, you say that.
Okay. On Nextdoor, someone posted a page from the bylaws. Don't know if they're accurate or not accurate, but that's not how they read. You gave very specific, and the bylaws were much more open on that.
I need comments on the bylaws. Bylaw question.
I'm not an attorney. There's an attorney here. My name is Steve Schneider. I'm on the board. What's your name, sir?
Dave Lander.
Hey, Dave. Glad to meet you. The bylaws just specify, I think you're talking about the declaration, not the bylaws.
Could be.
I believe that's a correct statement.
Okay.
So in the declaration, it provides that the sewer and water system must be funded in separate reserve, well, not separate reserves, but it must be funded for capital expenditures, et cetera. So I don't know what your question is.
Well, it said separate reserves and they're commingled.
They're all commingled in a bank account. We do have balances. Take a look at the last audited statements. See what the ending balance is for the reserve for water and sewer.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with your 20%. That is in a prepaid account.
Is there, in the declarations, where do I find those?
I don't know the section. You'd have to read them. Probably under utilities.
I just want to go online and find the declarations.
Oh, it's on the POA website.
Board of Directors page and also on the forms and documents.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back again. I just thought of another question from a previous meeting. We were talking about with water-related stuff, and I feel like I remember a comment that we had decided that a new water tank was going to be put in the village somewhere up by where the rec center is and the medical facilities and the pickleball courts because it's the highest point. Is that true?
Do you know where the green tank, pardon me, the green tank is up the top of the hill?
In there? No.
Okay, if you go up to the rec center and look west, sorry. If you look west, no, I'm still wrong, it's east. Wow. If you go to the rec center and look east, you will see a big green tank sitting on the top of a hill. That's where it's gonna go.
Oh, okay. So it's already in progress?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I
Yeah,
was just
we're doing a
curious.
study for it right now.
Okay, yeah, with all the questions, it made me remember that, so I thought.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I asked.
perfectly
And
good
by the way,
question.
I'm also originally from Chicago, and I think the guys that removed the snow did a fantastic job. Much better than I would have expected as well, so thumbs up to them.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chet. Just kudos to you and the board for continuing to hold these monthly meetings. I think it's a great way to reach out to the community, and I'm glad for the occasional opportunity to provide feedback. So
Sure.
appreciate it. So I just want to make sure that I have a clear understanding. Right now, the timeline for an independent water authority project is essentially on hold, waiting for feedback from the state's attorney general?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, but it's not dead in the water yet.
Not until he says no. That's correct.
Okay, that's good. We also, you kind of led off talking about this new fee of 0.5%. Okay, I can't remember, I didn't take a picture, but is that a reserve fund or is that specifically for the water sewer infrastructure?
It goes directly to the reserves. It is not specified to just water and sewer.
So isn't it true that once that money goes into our reserves,
Yes.
we can transfer it from one reserve fund to another reserve fund? It's in reserves.
Okay, so I guess I need to do a reserve class 101. In reserves, there is only one bank account, and the reserve money goes into that. Now, we have in our accounting process defined that, yeah, that money came from this area, that money came from this area, it all went into reserves. And then when we spend it, as Judy pointed out, there are some caveats to what we spend part of that on.
Okay.
But in general, the reserves can only be spent on those things that are within the reserve study, meaning things we already own. We have 3 processes that we have to follow. We must maintain, we must repair, and we must replace.
And that 0.5%, if it comes to fruition,
Yes.
that is our reserve fund directly, Tellico
Correct.
Village. So all of this is prefaced to my actual question. If we are able to establish an independent water authority and we transfer $250-some million worth of assets to that independent water authority, over which my understanding is Tellico Village has no control once we take that step. Can we then take money that we've pulled in from this other reserve fund? Seems to me those two would be mutually exclusive. Any money that Tellico Village would pull in from that 0.5% fee could not then later be transferred to an independent water authority to mitigate our infrastructure.
I now understand your question. So the
See what
answer
I'm
to that is no. Yeah, no, we can't do that. And that's
So they're
not,
mutually exclusive.
yes, they are mutually exclusive.
That's what I needed to know. And I mean, I guess my question, everybody's question under those circumstances is, when you compare the likelihood of getting the 0.5% and maybe getting a water authority, I mean, is it an either or
No,
scenario?
no.
I'm just trying to reconcile how we
Sure,
address
no, the
that
only
need.
reason, and you know, I said this the last time, I'll say it again because this is the truth. You are one of the only communities I have ever even known, much less managed, that does not have this fee already built in from the day one. And so that's why I'm suggesting it, is because it is a simple way to fund the reserves from people moving into the community, and it works, and it reduces the amount of reserves that we have to budget for every year, cleanly and appropriately. And all those people who've paid in over the years, those people who are moving in new pay into that so that they get the benefit of that as well.
I am 100% behind the notion of a 0.5% fee for that purpose. I just want to make sure I understand clearly that none of that money
No.
is going towards the $30 million infrastructure problem that we're talking about addressing.
Not through a water authority, no.
Right.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you bet.
Hello, Chet. I'm thinking about what's going to happen in 2028 when the cash spigot dries up. I'm assuming at that point we're going to be looking at a special assessment of some kind in order to keep this going. And my question is this: if there is a special assessment at some time in the future, which we certainly hope not, is that carried along to people that then purchase property after that period? So if I come in and purchase a house in 2030, am I still subject to that special assessment?
Normally, what happens is if somebody comes in to purchase a house, they will say, are there any special assessments currently in place? Well, let me back up. Normally, a special assessment is a one-time fee. So if we had a special assessment 5 years ago and you're moving into that property today, no, you would not be charged a special assessment.
Okay.
Number two, in my mind, if you have a special assessment in 2028, I haven't done my job right. Because that's the point of all these things I'm trying to do, is to set us up for the future. Today, it's not really that big a deal for us. Nobody's going to have a special assessment tomorrow because we don't have the money. We do. But 5 years from now, and all these projects are coming in, it's going to be tough. And so we have to find ways to fund these bills, fund these costs, without coming to you yet again. And by the way, the odds of us getting a special assessment passed, because in our documents, 2/3 of the community has to vote yes.
Good luck on
There's the entertaining moment in time.
the alternative is there's no longer a Telego Village. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Good question.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I support the concept of the 0.5%. Is that regulated by law, state law or anything? Can it go up or can it go down?
It is my understanding, and again, there's no Esquire at the end of my name, but as I understand it, if it is a legislative process that approves this and puts it in place, it becomes a law. Therefore, it cannot be changed up or down. It's permanent.
My question to begin with is the upfront. Can that be changed instead of 0.5%, maybe to 0.75%?
Well, I'll tell you how I came up with this number first.
Yeah, where did it come from?
That may help. So I've managed property for 20 years, and I went out to, I think the last one I stopped at was right around between 35 and 36 different communities, and asked them what they did and why they did it. Some of them I already knew because I was either managing their manager or I was a manager there. And the ones who had percentages said that they never had to change it. Example, Del Webb does not have percentages. Del Webb, when I first started managing Del Webb's, they charged a $900 fee. Next year it went to $1,000. Year after that it went to $1,500. Year after that it went to $2,000. So that caused several levels of consternation because the people who moved in 3 years earlier only paid $900. And I talked to the homeowners who went with percentages, and they felt, oh, there is one other thing I forgot to mention. I'm glad you brought it up again. There is a minimum. If you buy a lot for $6,000, we're not going to charge you the 1/2 of 1%. We're going to charge you $500.
Yeah.
So there is a minimum. And anything below that will come in at 500. Anything above that, then the percentage kicks in. Anyway, the point of that is the percentages, the average percent that most of these associations went with was 1/2 of 1%, because it was not so arduous a number for the homeowners, the people buying homes. It wasn't a lot of sticker shock. And interestingly enough, not on purpose, but I did the math. If you bought a house here in the community for $500,000, it would be $2,500 would be the fee.
Well, the reason I was asking about that, I understand, I may be wrong, but our neighbors over here in the community next to us, I at one time understand they had a $10,000 fee when you bought in.
Wind River's $30,000.
$2,500 seems cheap. I don't recall, but I've been here about 18 years.
Sure.
So it's been a few years that I heard that rumor. It may be nothing but a rumor. But my concept, I would even support a 0.75%. I have nothing to lose.
Well, we
Because
have
I'm going
to
to sell it, the
yeah.
buyer's going to pay for it.
Right, and that's the point. But the board has to vote on this, and they're behind this.
Sure.
And if the board decides that 1/2% is not what they want a higher percent, we'll make it a higher percent.
I'm just looking at the dollars that we can build
Yeah,
at this point, and that's the purpose of what we're doing.
exactly.
And if you can't change it, do it right to begin with. Get the right percent.
I agree.
Now, second point, trash. That's a ugly subject. But when I moved in to a association with the concept that there would be control on what our community would look like. I came from California, and I saw a lot of places in those communities. You bought a property, and lo and behold, next door, somebody moves in, piles a bunch of junk. Now, my concept was, hey, we have certain regulations on the house
Yes.
and our property, how it has to look and so forth. And we even have regulations even now, if I'm not mistaken, you cannot keep your trash bin out in front on your driveway or anything like that. It needs to be off, out of sight, or something to that
Correct.
effect. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we go out and we get 4 different contractors that are in here. Some of them require blue barrels, some require bags, and some are saying, okay, we're picking you up in your area. This one says on Monday, and the other one says I'm going to pick it up on Tuesday. So what do we got? We got a bunch of crap out on our driveway and our streets.
And to add to that, you have at least 5 or 6 different size trucks with different maintenance on them and everything
Exactly.
else.
And no control. And I'm saying, hey, to have one contractor come in and let's all be the same and have a clean looking uniform community. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Yes, sir.
I want to thank you also for these monthly meetings, and also I do support the assessment that you're for. There's one question I have, and I don't know if we have any property now or is anticipated in the future where a developer would come in and build townhomes or apartment style.
Yes, we do.
And if we do, how you address the assessment in those cases. And I'll
Well,
let you answer. That's the only thing.
Sure, no, I mean, if I'm going to look at it from the community standpoint, townhomes are better than single family because the townhome pays the same assessment as the single family does, and I can put 130 of them on the same area that I can only put 18 homes.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is the same owner holds that property.
Yes.
But you continually have change of tenants throughout, so there's no assessment on the people that are coming in and renting.
Oh, you're talking about rentals.
It only stays in that very initial assessment when the property developer builds that townhome. It sits there for 3 decades, but they only pay one assessment despite the fact that you've had multiple families moving in and out. So I just think there might be something considered
Well,
there.
no, I agree with you, and that would be a rental situation, and it would be the same owner, and that one I can't fix. I mean, like right now, there are many, many homeowners here who rent their homes, and we all have different opinions about renting, but the reality of it is that one homeowner pays the bill, and that's it. And then if they have people renting, those renters come and go and come and go. That homeowner's still paying the assessments and still paying for their license to rent.
So let me ask you then, so a renter or a series of multi-homes that are built together, the owner's not living there, but they're only created to rent out to people, then those residents, what are their privileges, if you will? Do they have the same privileges of the rest of us who purchase property, build a home? Then do these tenants have that same privilege as a property owner?
The property owner has 2 choices, and this is normally how it is handled. Either they treat it as a rental, and that person who is renting from them has no access to the community. It's just a house they live in and come and go. The second option is they bequeath to that renter their rights to use the facilities and the amenities of the community, and that owner loses the rights to do that.
And they can do that with multiple
We don't really have one, I mean, there are people who own more than one house who rent, and there are people who own more than one condo and rent them. But that's normally how that function works.
Okay, I wasn't going to bring this up, but let me ask you this. I understand, and I could be wrong about this, that Rarity Bay tenants residents are able to acquire privileges here in the village by using the facilities like the pickleball courts and things like that through the recreation fees. Are they able to do that because they're Rarity Bay? Is there some agreement between these two communities that allows that?
Yes, Beth can speak to that. She was going to.
I'm going to slide beside you real quick. Yes, there was an agreement made with Rarity Bay many years ago. It is limited to an amount. I believe that is 50 now, and they pay almost double what a property owner would have. And I think we only have like 12 or 13 current members. It's not very many from Rarity Bay.
And you addressed my point about that, and that is, would there be, that assessment be at least 50% or double what you pointed out? So, okay, so thank you, appreciate it.
You bet, no worries, good questions. Yes, sir.
Is there an as-built for the water and sewer existing?
Okay, this is a public meeting, so I have to be appropriate. And I'll just go, yeah, no. We're working on that. We have had that, but in terms of an as-built that defines every pipe that we have in the community, I'm not aware of that.
Is there a timeline of original construction available?
Yes.
So you would have it go from the beginning and work through that?
Right. When you say
in
as-built,
the reconstruction.
Yeah. When you say as-built, I'm thinking about I've got plans that I can go to different sections of the community and actually see where all the pipes were laid.
Okay.
The answer to that is no. We don't have that as of this time. We have some, but not all. And the rest of it is hunt and peck.
Has there been a plan set up for the actual reconstruction timeline, sizes, all that?
We are working right now with Jacobs Engineering to define those things, and we also have a system that we put in place that is a GPS system, and as we find pipes and mark them, we are putting them in the list so that we're building an as-built, for lack of a better way of putting it. As we find and discover where those things are, we're constantly mapping those to get it in. It's something new that we've started in the last 3 years or so.
The big purchase a few years ago, how much of that has been able to be resold?
I believe Beth can answer that question.
How much of that big purchase got resold, subdivided and sold off?
Yeah, it hasn't been subdivided yet.
Interesting. That's not a priority?
It is. Sorry. I'm going to get my own mic next time, Kevin, please. Okay. We have sold the individual parcels that were already pre-platted that we got from that Cooper acquisition. The large parcels, the board agreed that we could go out to bid on 3 of the different parcels, 1 in the main village and 2 in Kahidi, and we've sent out that RFP twice, and we didn't get a bid back. So we're doing a different approach on setting a price for it that the board would approve and then putting it up for sale. Yep, so yes, it is a priority.
Okay. Is there any push to minimize expenditures at this point that aren't necessary?
That's a push that's every day.
Well, I'm just wondering about the new signs for the communities.
Well, the reality, when you say, is there a push to reduce costs? There's always a push to reduce costs, but there is a trade-off when I have to, back to my original statement, maintain, repair, and replace. All of those things have to go on. They can't stop. I can't allow your amenity to degrade by saving money and not taking, or deferring, I believe is the correct word, deferring maintenance and those kinds of things. Okay. That doesn't benefit the community at all.
I have a question about the 1/2 of 1%.
Sure.
When you're talking about the renters, since they do use the infrastructure, Would it be fair to ask them to pay 1/2 of 1% of their rent?
Well, theoretically, the person who buys that home paid for that, and that's their contribution to it. The renters, this is where it gets to be a sticky wicket. And I would love to tell you that our documents are well defined on how we deal with renters and we have all the steps that is necessary, but we don't. There is nothing in the documents that cover renters at all. And so it's kind of a thing we're trying to do the best we can. And to be frank, I don't want to say rentals are bad, because many of the people sitting in this room came here, stayed in a rental, found out they loved Tellico Village, and bought a house. So we can't really cuss people for renting their homes, because they're one of the reasons why many of us moved here. And to be frank, when I came here to work, I rented for the first 9 months because I didn't have a house, couldn't find a house yet. Thank God I was able to build one, but still, that was a benefit for me. And other people have enjoyed that. But I don't think we can look to renters to pay for that kind of infrastructure. I think the homeowners and their costs will be paying for that.
Yeah, I wasn't saying for the homeowner to pay that additional one. That would go directly to the renter.
Sure. No, that's a homeowner question. That's one that I can't play in that pool. That's up to them.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. And she's back.
So listening to the questions, it's raised more questions.
Sure.
First of all, regarding the trash comment that the other gentleman made, if everybody goes and selects their own trash company, is there going to be any regulation throughout the village so that we don't have 5, 10 different trash pickups and all that sort of thing?
That's why I said we really only have two choices. The choice is we have one company and it acts just like it's happening right now. We get a company, we get them to give us a bid on what they'll charge you monthly, and you sign up with them individually, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. That's one way. Then I've only got one company driving his trucks all over the property and picking up cans. Or I go out and get a contract that everybody buys into and pays, and we still only have one company driving their trucks through the property.
Okay, so we will not be in a scenario where everybody's doing their own thing.
We can't, really. The
Right.
documents really don't allow us to do that.
Okay, good. Okay, this one's for you, Beth. So this property that we purchased and now we're going to put up for sale. So if we already have pressure on our sewage and water,
Yes, ma'am.
so how is that going to be handled, and to ensure that more pressure is not put by who you decide to sell to? And
Well, that's a challenge that we are up against, because you're correct. And I'll go back to my example I said earlier. We got 39 acres. Somebody wants to put 139 townhomes on that 39 acres. Theoretically, there's space to do that, but we don't have the infrastructure to handle the sewer for 139 homes.
Exactly.
And so we would have to either negotiate where they build in the infrastructure, or they can't build. And so that's a struggle that we're up against right now in terms of how do we manage that?
Yeah.
And what can we, because if they put in the homes in that area that were just single family, they couldn't put in 139. So we could handle that. It's when you start going to townhomes or that kind of a setup, you can put a lot of homes in a very small area and a lot of toilets flushing all at the same time.
Right, and are there, as far as deciding who we would sell that land to, are there any restrictions as far as, we're not going to drive into Tellico Village and see a 10-story condos type of thing?
There's several layers of restrictions. One is Loudoun County would not allow anything more than a 3-story because we don't have the fire trucks to support a high-rise.
Okay.
Or they would negotiate to buy Loudoun County one, and then they might say, okay. But right now, no. It would still have to go to the board. The proposal would have to go to the board for approval to approve the sale of the land.
Our
So that's
POA board.
our POA board. And then number 2, it would still have to go before ACC for approval, just like any other house or community would. Yep. So several layers to make sure we got what we wanted.
Okay.
That enhanced Tellico Village and didn't put an eyesore on it.
And then I just wanted to make a comment about our favorite topic. I heard the comment about the signs, and as a garden captain, I would just like to reassure folks that we've been looking at all the different gardens, and the signs are crumbling under our fingers.
Yes, they are.
They're falling apart. So it's nice that they're going to look great and everything, but it's also a necessity.
It is. We need to upgrade the signs bad just because they're deteriorating. Yes, sir.
Are any of the bids going out for trash going to include recycling?
Are other bids going out?
No. When you go to get bids, are you asking to include recycling?
Yes. So here's the way it works, and this has been consistent. I don't know why it's been consistent, but it's been consistent. Republic will pick up all recycling for us right now today for $40 a month. That's not including your trash. That's just recycling. The other vendors that we've looked at will pick it up, but it's still astronomical prices to pick up recycling. And I mean, that's why I've never brought it to you. I thought $40 a month for picking up recycling was insane, but that's what they're asking. And so when I say, and I guess I need to be clear, when I say they won't do recycling, I'm saying they won't do recycling in a means that any of us would want to pay. I hope that answered that. You got a question, Beth?
Questions online. Okay. This is from Roger George. He would like to know what exactly can reserve funds be used for, specifically reserve funds be used for partial use of rebuilding Tanasi. Can reserve funds be used for, what can they be used for, and could they be used to rebuild Tanasi?
Of course. They can be reused, again, back to maintain, repair, and replace. Tanasi was a part of our reserves. It's been destroyed. We have to replace it. So yes, is the answer.
All right, and lots of kudos about the snow removal and getting snow off docks from lots of different people. And then also, what is the status of roundabouts on 444?
So I believe the specific information that I got from T-DOT, we have T-DEC, we have T-DOT, we have too many names, acronyms, but anyway, T-DOT, which is the road group, that the roundabout at the Food Lion area there, Malacqua, and I can't remember the name of the other road. That one is on the books. The traffic light at 72 and 444 is on the books. The traffic lights for Niles Ferry and Venor is on the books. When I say on the books, that means they've been allocated and they have funds set aside for them. They have not put them on the calendar yet. And then the last one is a roundabout at Sequoia and Maple Hill. That one is on the books, but no funds have been allocated to that. That's different. It's still in progress, so to speak. The answer is it's the government. I have no idea. But they are on the books and money has been allocated.
Another question from Roger George is, why can't the community agree to do the assessment instead of going to legislation for the reserve fund fee?
Why can't they? Well, here's the reality of it. And I feel very strongly about this. So if I apologize right now, if I sound very passionate about this, I am. In my mind, it is ludicrous that I have to go to our government to figure out ways to help you fund your community. You can, indeed, give me 2/3 vote and change the documents to allow this fee to exist within our declaration and me never talk to the government, ever. But so far, I've not seen that to be even remotely possible. And so in my efforts to try and find a way to fund what I see our future becoming, this is the steps that I'm trying to take. But I do want you to agree to it. I do want your help. I do want you to believe in the fact that we're trying to do something important for the community that is going to fund the community in a way in the future when I'm long gone, you're still going to be getting the benefits from it. And that's the point right there. You're right. I don't really have to go to the legislature. I could vote that here. But so far, I see no hope of ever doing that. And the legislature has afforded me an option. And that's why we're doing it. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you give us an update on the Tenassi rebuild and the litigation associated with it?
We've been currently going through all the drawings and the bids, and we've been trying to reduce costs in several areas. We have been going through bidding process, and we're trying to get the plans to a level where we can go out and get real numbers as opposed to estimates. We want to go out and get real numbers. So we're in the process of doing that. I am hoping that we will have that done within the next week.
You had indicated that the price differential between what you feel we can afford versus what it was originally projected to cost was very, very wide. Are you closing in? Do you see
That's
the
the goal.
gap?
We're trying to close that gap as much.
I understand the goal, but is it possible that we're going to end up with something, or is it just going to sit there?
No, I know I keep saying this, and so you'll have to forgive me, but it's a true statement, and I want y'all to understand it. We don't have a choice. I have to put that building back some way. And one of the things that I need to say here, you'll hear it in the board meeting coming up next week, I can't put back the original Tenassi for $7 million.
Right.
I can't put back the original one for $7 million. And one of the things we're finding out in terms of costs is that, if you don't believe this, it took me 3 or 4 times asking what? To understand, Nashville is 30% lower in costs for building costs than Knoxville. And our architect is in Nashville, and he's been going off the prices that he had there, and when we went out to get estimates here in Knoxville, it was 30% higher. So we've got lots of work to get done, but we've got to get this building built. It can't go on forever, and we can't just keep dragging our feet.
And the follow-up question is, a lot of the discussion is the cost to rebuild the restaurant and the facility. What about parking lot?
Oh, the parking lots are a given. They're an absolute. It would be ridiculous of me, and I would lose my job over it gladly, because it would be that ridiculous. We can't put back a building without putting a parking lot that will sustain that building, and that's what we haven't had in the past, and that's what we have to have now.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, Chet. How are you?
I'm good.
Bob Sawyer. I live up on Skiatook Circle next to Pat White.
Oh, that ex-board member.
Yeah, that guy. First, I want to thank these Public Works for plowing the snow. I mean, with a handful of trucks, you can't expect miracles. And that was a lot of snow.
It was a lot of snow.
I'm from Detroit, and even there, that's considered a lot of snow. So thank you very much to all the guys.
Appreciate that.
Next thing is the 0.5%.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you move within the village from one house to another house?
You pay the 0.5%.
You pay the 0.5%.
Yep. Anytime a deed changes hands and money is exchanged, that price is paid.
Okay. Next thing, going back to Tenassi, whatever happened with the foundation? There was some legal action
Oh, I thought
going on.
I'm sorry, I thought we had already discussed that. We went back to the insurance, and they are paying us for that foundation, and they will pay to have that foundation taken down as well.
Okay, great.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's not anybody else, we'll wrap this up and say good evening to you. And thank you again, sincerely, and on a lovely evening like it is, for coming out. I appreciate it.